Today we're going to learn about fused glass. And fused glass is a way of making art using colored pieces of glass that are then melted in the kiln. These are some different student examples. You'll notice that they're layering the glass together, so they had a blue base piece. They had their colored pieces in the middle layer that they used to make their design, and then there's a clear layer on top. Now you notice on the back there's a question mark on this one, which means that that student didn't put their name properly on the tray and then never claimed their final piece, so it became a Zills. So, excuse me, so keep that in mind. Here's a fused glass piece that has been designed but has not yet been fired. So you'll notice there's a base piece on the bottom, and if you look at the side you can kind of see that middle layer, and then you can see the clear layer on top. So that's what we're going to be doing. But before we can get to the making part, we always need to talk safety. Glass is sharp, and when we're cutting glass, glass pieces can fly. You must have safety glasses on if you are anywhere in the vicinity of the glass area. No options. We need to protect our eyeballs. We're also going to be focused on our task, and we're going to be paying attention because glass is sharp and we don't want to cut ourselves. So we have this special clear plastic grid which is meant for glass cutting, because what happens is the small pieces are able to fall into these little crevices. That way we're not accidentally leaning on them. Doesn't mean we can't pay attention, we're still going to do that. So for what we're doing at Hester, once you have your safety glasses on, you're going to start by choosing a glass base piece from this bin. You're going to be careful when you dig through the bin to make sure you're choosing one without cutting yourself. So you're going to choose your base piece, and then we have all of these different colors of glass in different bins used to making our designs. Now many students choose to make a more abstracted design like these magnets over here and just made a cool pattern or design. You can actually control where you put the pieces and make a small picture. You'd have enough room. You could do something like a little flower, a little rainbow. The possibilities are endless, whatever you want to design. So to get into the design, we're going to choose the pieces that we want to use, but we might not actually like the shape of the pieces as they came in the bins, right? Because these are just the different scraps. So say I want to use a yellow piece, but I don't like that it's too big and I want to cut it. We have two different ways that we can cut the glass. The first way is using these nippers, okay? What the nippers are, they have two wheels on them, and both wheels come to a very crisp point. And so when we're squeezing on a brittle surface such as the glass, it's going to create a fissure line, right? It's that pressure coming at a concentrated point, which is then going to crack the glass. So we line up our wheels where we want it to cut, and I can hold it kind of this way so you can see a little differently. Now you would point this down here. I want you to be able to see how it cracks. So it just chips it right off there. Notice the glass piece that I cut off went flying. So we cut low to the table, and we have our safety glasses on to protect us. And then I could look at the shape and decide if it's how I want it or if I still want to cut it smaller. Say I still want to cut this yellow piece in half again. There's another way to cut. We have these wheeled cutters that have that same kind of wheel that will make that same kind of fissure mark. So I'm going to press firmly. I can't be dainty. I got to use a little bit of muscle. I don't have to kill it, but I have to use a little bit of muscle. If I pull this up close, you should be able to see that very faint line. That's our fissure line, okay? Now, you can break that with your hands, but when it's small pieces, I like to use the running pliers. There should be a line drawn. You want to line up that line with the fissure line, and then you just squeeze gently, and it just cracked that piece right along my fissure line for me. And I would arrange the pieces how I want, and I can fill it completely. I could leave spaces. I'm kind of liking that kind of stripe that's happening, so I think I'm going to cut this guy down. It's however you want to design it. Anytime we make an artwork, we always think about how we can use our imagination to make it unique to us. So there's no rules for how it has to be made. design-wise. Okay, there are safety protocols that we follow, always. Because if we don't use the tools safely, we will lose the privilege of using them. So I'm going to cut that one, and I'm going to align this down here. And I'm satisfied with that design right there. Maybe I'll put one more piece over here to balance it out. So now I need to glue the pieces in place, because if I didn't glue these, Ms. Zill could pick this up to put in the kiln and all the pieces go flying. And if all the pieces go flying, they're not going to end up where they need to be. So Ms. Zill will not fire unless the pieces are glued in place. We're using regular Elmer's glue. You're going to open it up. We're going to close the glue bottles when we're done, because there's nothing worse than a glue bottle that doesn't work because it's clogged. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue under. Now notice I did not glue the pieces first. I like to work visually, and I like to rearrange and slide the pieces around before I glue them down. And if you put the glue down first, you wouldn't be able to do that. So right now I have my bottom layer, I've got my middle layer, and now I'm just missing my top layer. So I want a clear piece that will melt over this. Kind of just gives it a nice thickness, it gives it a nice presence, kind of smooths it out so everything's the same level. So there's a bin labeled clear top layer, and you're going to find a piece in there that's close to the size of yours. Okay? Now it should be a little bit bigger or the same. It should not be smaller. You'll notice on this piece of glass, the clear layer was smaller, so it creates this little ridge at each side, which isn't the end of the world, but we generally want that top layer to kind of be smoothing, and if it falls over the edge, that's fine. This is a pretty good fit. It could be a little bit bigger, so let me see if there's some different ones. This one's pretty good. It's a little bit big, so I'm going to trim that baby down. Cut with the wheel tool, nip it off. This scrap would go in the clear glass bin. And if I like that, I'm going to go ahead and glue it in place. And the last thing that we need to do is put our name on our tray so that it gets fired properly. So there are some styrofoam trays. We recycle these. We use them over and over. So you write your name on the piece of tape. Then you put them on the tray. If you don't quite finish in a class period, your pieces would still go on a tray. There's a glass cart. One shelf is for ready to be fired pieces, and one shelf is for not ready to be fired pieces. And it's very important that you put it in the correct spot to communicate clearly to Ms. Zill whether your piece is ready for firing or not. These get fired up to about 1,400 degrees. All the pieces will get melted, and then we would glue our magnet on, and you would have that piece to take home. Have fun with it. Be safe. Use your brain. Be smart. You get to make 2 pieces. Thanks.